What is more important, fixing the present or planning for the future? Hello and welcome, I am Sadhika Tiwari and you're watching Eco India. While it is important to actually make the right choices in the moment and fix the damage done in the past, it is also critical to think, what does our future look like? There are innovators across the globe rethinking the way we live to secure a better future for us and for the planet. And I am sitting inside one such idea. This is an electric auto rickshaw, a rechargeable three-wheeler. In 2023, 40% of all electric vehicles sold in India were electric rickshaws. Their numbers are rapidly increasing because they provide last-mile connectivity, low costs, and no air pollution. The city of Amritsar is trying to make this shift by phasing out their diesel-run auto rickshaws and replacing them with these electric ones. But what's in it for these drivers? Let's go around town with one and find out.
For auto rickshaw driver Satnam Singh, the color blue represents an important shift away from the black and yellow of his old diesel rickshaw. Satnam was among the early adopters of an electric auto rickshaw as part of the city of Amritsar's trade-in scheme. He gave up his old rickshaw 3 years ago.
It was 22 years old, used up a lot of fuel and cost a fortune to maintain. So when I found out about the Rahi trade-in scheme, I went to the agency and discovered that I could receive a subsidy for this e-rickshaw. Making the step has been a real blessing.
Through the Rahi scheme, drivers were offered up to 70% off the cost of a brand new electric rickshaw if they traded in their old diesel vehicles. Amritsar has very little public transport and some of the worst air pollution in the world. A problem made worse, say environmentalists, by private vehicles and a large, barely regulated fleet of diesel rickshaws.
Transport alone accounts for about 1/4 of the problem, where the emission levels in the city are almost 3 times of the permissible national standards.
Satnam says owning an e-rickshaw has been a welcome choice for his customers and has improved his own health.
Passengers only spend a short time in a rickshaw, but I used to be exposed to fumes and noise from my diesel engine for up to 12 hours per day. I was constantly coughing or had a cold. With the e-rickshaw, I'm healthier and my customers are happier.
The Rahi scheme was also extended to offer large subsidies aimed at attracting more women drivers. Sandeep Gill abandoned her low-paid casual work and thanks to a 90% government subsidy, bought a new e-rickshaw. It's had a big impact on her life. I used to earn just 300 rupees for a 12-hour shift. It was difficult to cover our household costs and support my son on that wage. Now that I have a rickshaw, why would I want to go back to that? As a rickshaw driver, Sandeep now earns twice what she did before. But her first 3 months were a bumpier ride than she was expecting. With no access to an efficient charging point, she has had to pay as much as the equivalent of 100 euros each month to recharge her e-rickshaw. My last electricity bill was 8,500 rupees and I didn't have that much money saved up, so I've had to take out a high-interest loan to pay it off. At e-rickshaw dealerships in the city like this one, customers are aware of potential hurdles when it comes to charging.
We have decided to go for a compressed natural gas variant because it's easier to fill them up anywhere in the city. We cover around 200 kilometers every day and charging in the middle of a workday isn't practical for us.
The dealership's manager, Jaswinder Singh, says it's an issue his company is trying to solve.
The company is working to introduce technology to reduce charging time for customers. Customers want to be able to charge within 15 to 20 minutes, and we are working to meet that need.
चार्ज हो जाए तो मैं सो दैट फिर सवारियां लेके जा सकूं, इस पे वर्किंग चल रही है.
Amritsar's rickshaw drivers cater to thousands of tourists looking to make day trips to locations outside the city. Places like the Wagah border crossing between India and Pakistan pull in the crowds. The atmosphere here is always electric, but there are no charging stations to be found even at tourist hotspots like this. Meanwhile, back in Amritsar, Satnam Singh uses a specialized charging connection at home to charge his vehicle. It takes 3 to 4 hours and provides a range of about 120 kilometers. For many, that's too much time and not enough distance. Despite 4 years of pushing drivers to ditch their diesel engines, the city's charging infrastructure is not yet where it needs to be.
There are about 8 to 10 of these across Amritsar. I've seen them all over, but they aren't connected right now. The sooner charging infrastructure is ready, the better it will be for us.
तो हमारे लिए सोने पे सुहागे वाली बात हो जाएगी.
The government subsidy scheme expired at the start of 2025. It was only able to electrify about 1,200 of the city's 40,000 auto rickshaws. The city's administration is pushing to renew the scheme and promising to better implement the necessary electric infrastructure once they get the green light. If they succeed, Amritsar will one day be able to breathe easier and also serve as a model for the rest of Punjab.
As we saw, electric vehicles need batteries, and these are crucial for energy storage for now. But what if we could store excess energy by just lifting weights? That's the idea behind gravity batteries, an old concept getting a modern upgrade. Companies are trying different ways to harness gravity for storing clean energy. But can it compete with lithium-ion batteries? And what does gravity-powered clean energy even mean? We will simplify it for you.
This is a battery. It might not look like one, but this weight here stores the energy it took to move it up here. When it's released, it can power this light. A handful of companies want to build large versions of this. When we produce more electricity than we need, like in the middle of the day when there's lots of solar energy, we can use that energy to lift a heavy weight. It just hangs around until we lower it again. The motor becomes a generator and feeds electricity back into the grid. This technology could be a good way to cut CO2 emissions. We need a lot of renewable energy and places to store it. With more and more renewable energy, we need even more reliable short and long-term storage. That could be 6 hours, 6 days, 6 weeks, or even months. Pumped storage hydropower is great for this. It's been around for more than a century and still makes up over 95% of our storage capacity. You pump water up when there's an energy surplus and let it flow down through turbines when energy is needed. Pumped hydro is tried and tested, but doesn't work just anywhere. It requires lots of construction work and disrupts natural habitats. It's not easily scalable, but the gravity principle is.
We basically mirror that same process, but instead of water for one of our solutions, we use blocks.
That's Robert Picconi, co-founder and CEO of Energy Vault, which currently is the biggest gravity energy storage developer.
There's essentially, depending on the size of the system, can be up to thousands of them per system.
Back in 2020, Energy Vault built this prototype in Switzerland. 6 cranes stacked the concrete blocks up to a height of 70 meters. The prototype proved that the concept works, but it also received criticism, such as that the structure didn't comply with building codes or might not withstand extreme weather. So Energy Vault came up with this gravity battery building. Thousands of blocks are lifted or lowered and then stored horizontally, as seen here. The first battery of that kind went into operation in Rudong in Jiangsu province in China. It's taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza and stores more than 3,500 blocks weighing 25 tons each. They were made on site from excavated soil, but the company says it could use waste materials such as coal ash or old wind turbine blades.
And it's 100 megawatt hours, so that you can think that equivalent to powering about 35,000 homes.
But only for 2 to 3 hours. The company plans to build 4 gigawatt hours of gravity batteries for China, or 40 times this one, and plans are underway in southern Africa too. Gravity batteries could in theory lift a weight and keep it up for 60 years.
The biggest drawback is the costs.
That's Evelina Stoicu, Senior Research Associate at Bloomberg NEF's Energy Storage Team.
And what we found is that gravity batteries have the higher average cost and higher cost range from all the other long duration technologies. One of the reasons that they have a very high cost is because they have very low energy density. So you need sort of larger infrastructure in order to get the same, in order to store the same energy as you would need for a lithium-ion battery, for example.
The gravity battery in Rudong stores the same amount of energy as this lithium-ion battery, but the gravity battery needs much more space and building materials, so the initial cost is higher. It also loses out in other ways. Storage operators earn their money by discharging the energy and selling it for more than they paid. Chemical storage like lithium-ion can react in milliseconds to market needs, which allows for a lot of quick profit-taking. A gravity battery mechanically lifts and lowers weight, which takes time and limits profit options. So gravity battery capacity is more expensive. But developers like Energy Vault want to convince investors to think long-term.
Because they have such long lifetimes of 50, 60 years, which is considerably higher compared to lithium-ion, they may claim that levelized cost of storage over the duration of the project lifetime is lower.
If the high startup costs of gravity batteries even out over time, partly due to the low cost of maintenance, that might make them competitive in the long run. Let's go underground.
We looked at 1,500 underground coal mines, and from these coal mines, we estimate a capacity of 70 terawatt hour of storage.
70 terawatt hours of energy is huge. It's what the entire world needs in a day, and it's 700,000 times the capacity of this. And that's just old coal mine shafts, which are particularly deep. Abandoned metal mines could also work. The idea is to have a small number of very heavy weights moving up and down the empty shaft. Installation costs for this kind of gravity energy storage could be fairly low.
Underground mines have the road access, they have transmission lines into the mine, so you can use that.
Energy could then be stored when it's really cheap and used when it's much more expensive, which could make it a profitable solution. There are also some even bolder designs for efficient gravity batteries, like sinking a giant piston into the ground and raising and lowering it with the water underneath. The idea has been around for years but hasn't reached the pilot stage yet. Another idea involves weights on wagons on rails going up and down a mountain. That idea is over 10 years old but hasn't gone anywhere yet. Energy Vault is planning an updated version, which looks a bit like a ski lift with weights. They say this system could be more efficient than the standalone gravity batteries they are making now. Gravity batteries might be installed in skyscrapers. Gravity energy storage is still in its infancy. It can't compete with the scale and low cost of lithium-ion storage. But it doesn't have to, since gravity storage is intended for long-term storage of 6 hours or more. So gravity batteries might become one of many options to store energy long-term.
Rising temperatures and erratic weather have impacted almost everything around us. And one of the most common reminder is the shrinking tree cover in the cities where we live. Enter Belgrade's liquid tree. It is as unusual as it sounds. It looks nothing like a tree, in fact far from it. It looks like an alien green bubbling tank. But much like a tree, this modern contraption helps clean the air in the city.
It has no leaves, branches or roots, but you could say this is a tree, a liquid tree if you like. The 600-litre water tank in Belgrade city centre contains microalgae and is a photobioreactor. The algae photosynthesize. Just like any regular tree or plant, they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, and they purify the air from harmful particles. The brain behind the idea is biophysicist Ivan Spasojevic. He stresses that it's not intended to replace real trees. Liquid 3 is designed to target areas where you can't plant a normal tree. For example, where we're standing now, we already have 2 trees. You couldn't plant a third one between them because their canopies would overlap and it wouldn't be able to grow. Belgrade is home to 5 of the 15 most polluted districts in Europe, and Serbia is one of the most air-polluted countries on the continent. Liquid trees could help improve the air quality. They're quick to set up and require little maintenance. A solar panel is included too, making the Belgrade liquid tree multifunctional. As the tank purifies the air, it becomes greener. The first time I saw this, it was still turquoise, and I thought it was some aquarium installation. I think it's great that there's a place to sit and charge your phone halfway between my house and the city centre. If it can really help purify the air and regulate the pollution we have here, then I think it's a great innovation. I like that there are alternative solutions. And as if that wasn't enough, the man behind the award-winning project stresses something else he wants to achieve. Our goal is to send a message that it's important to fight for better urban air quality, that protecting the environment is important, and I think Liquid 3 sends that message.
In 2023, India produced nearly 14 million tons of fish. And this also means that a lot of waste was generated from the same. Usually, fish market waste is discarded. But what if it could be turned into something useful? A man in Chennai is not only carefully and properly disposing this waste, but is also adding value to it. Can solutions like these help reduce fish market waste while also benefiting the farmers?
This popular fish market in Chennai is always bustling with customers looking for fresh catch from the nearby sea. Where there is fresh fish, there is bound to be a lot of organic waste from all the cutting and cleaning. In this market, proprietor Proshataman has hit upon a way to reuse the waste. In our fish market, we collect approximately 4 tons of fish waste per week. Some of this waste is used as chicken feed, and the rest is used to make fish amino acid. We prepare fish amino acid by mixing the fish waste with jaggery at a ratio of 1:1. Since this mixture is rich in microorganisms and vitamins, it is also an excellent organic fertilizer for plants and trees. Here you can see different stages of fermentation. This batch was prepared today. This one is 10 days old, and this one is 20 days old. We stir the mixture every 10 days. The fish amino acid is fully fermented and ready for use in 40 days. Purushothaman has been producing fish amino acid for more than 7 years now. He supplies it to farmers in his home state of Tamil Nadu and also to the neighboring states of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. I have been using fish amino acid for the past 5 years. It has reduced the amount of work needed to maintain soil quality. Previously, I used chicken feed to enrich the soil and ensure healthier plant growth. Since I started using fish amino acid, I no longer need to spend time adding more to enrich the soil, and my plants look even greener and healthier. Fish amino acid is cheap and easier to disperse than many other organic fertilizers. It is also becoming popular among urban gardeners in Chennai. We provide fish amino acid to farmers at 130 rupees per litre. We supply it to towns across Tamil Nadu and even to large cities like Bengaluru. I wanted to make it affordable for farmers. I'm deeply passionate about organic farming. Since I couldn't pursue it myself, I'm doing my best to support farmers and reduce waste.
மூலமாக எல்லாருக்கும் ஆல் ஓவர் தமிழ்நாடு சப்ளை பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன்.
Fertilizers and pesticides are some of biggest expenses for Tamil Nadu's farmers. This locally sourced organic alternative benefits both businesses and the environment.
From the fish that fishermen catch, let's now move on to fish and meat that are grown in a lab. So the fish and meat industry generates a lot of pollution, especially when it is done at an industrial level. Manufacturing these artificially or cultivating them can definitely help reduce the pressure on our natural ecosystems. But how will lab-grown fish fillets or fungi-based meat or plant-based eggs actually taste? And the bigger question is, can these be the future of our food?
Blue Seafood, a startup in Hamburg, Germany, has revolutionary plans to put the first lab-grown fish fillets on the market. They still have a way to go, but they've already rolled out some fish sticks and fish balls, a whole new source of food. As human beings, we have basically evolved to hunt animals and catch fish, which means to eat fish and meat. And now we're making a radical break from that, saying we don't need that anymore. It's really a whole new dimension that's opening up to us. So, how does a lab make fish balls? Blue Seafood cultivates isolated fish cells in a nutrient solution. From these, the technicians can grow fish meat with all the nutritional value it contains. But they start off with a normal piece of fish. Although this fish is dead, it still contains living cells. Once we've opened up the tissue a bit by chopping it up, we go a step further. We add an enzyme solution that will extract the individual cells from the tissue. These cells will then be multiplied. They get the perfect nutritional mix for mass production, and the cells are hungry. It's like having a pet. You have to take care of it. If you go on vacation for a week, you have to make sure someone else feeds your pet. In the same way, someone has to feed the cells. A genuine fish fillet is still the stuff of the future. That would require a variety of cell types, including fat cells and a framework to grow on. The fish balls are a beginning. So far, lab-grown fish meat is not approved for sale anywhere in the world, but Blue Seafood recently applied for approval in Singapore. We're moving from the lab stage to industrial-scale production. We still have a few challenges to deal with, but we've seen that it works. It's not a question of whether it will happen someday, but when. What has already happened long ago is vegan substitute products, made of soy, for instance, or seitan, like this cutlet. Corn Foods, founded in the UK, sells meat substitute products derived from the fungal microorganism Fusarium. And the German company Next Foods is working on a chickenless egg. The Hamburg startup Infinite Roots is developing a meat substitute based on edible mushrooms, or their mycelia to be more precise. The mycelium is the part of the mushroom that normally grows underground. We grow it in what's known as a submersion culture, which is once again a nutrient solution. The mushrooms grow on residue from beer and coffee production. The advantages over conventional beef are far less land use and more efficient energy use. It's much quicker too. Only a few days after starting, it's ready for harvesting. I let the mycelia grow in very, very big fermenters. The biggest fermenter we've used so far had 100 cubic meter capacity. That's as tall as a multi-story building. The raw product has a umami-like flavour and supplies important proteins, vitamins and minerals. So the final product contains few additives. The company is now waiting for approval in the European Union. But what will it mean for us if most of our meat and fish comes from bioreactors? People used to think we were at the centre of the universe, until someone said, no, it's not like that. That was the Copernican revolution. It caused massive consternation and completely changed how we perceive the universe. If you think about what the Copernican revolution did, that will give you an idea of what meat and fish from bioreactors will mean to people. That revolution is beginning. It may be one answer to the increasing stress on our environment and a growing world population. Food grown not on the land, but in the lab.
That's all for today's list of ideas. As we saw, innovations take time, but these ideas are paving the way for a more sustainable future. These solutions are built to last. Do you know of more such? Do let us know. You can email us or reach out to me directly on my social media handles. Thank you for joining us. I will see you next week with more such ideas. Until then, take care, goodbye, namaskar.